morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, our voice of radio. So today we need to look at the top 10 most valuable Rainbow Rare cards in the Pokemon trading card game, although it is worth noting that with the advent of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the new expansion, Rainbow Rare cards are gone. And that means that actually we might do an update of this list in the future, because prices will fluctuate here and there, but this list is not going to change that much moving forward. Up till now, we've had new sets bringing in new Rainbow Rare cards that have, really shaken this list up, and this list here is getting properly shaken up. But this is really the last time. After today, ladies and gentlemen, or after this list, there really is not going to be that much movement, because, to be perfectly honest with you, Rainbow Rare cards are done, and I know not everybody loved them, but I know a lot of people did, and I know, whether you love them or not, you probably pulled a bunch of them, so let's go and look at which are the ones worth celebrating. It is a couple I just want to point out, although they didn't actually make the list, Gyarados VMAX, the Rainbow Rare Gyarados VMAX, is kind of spiking in price lately. It didn't quite make the list, it's rolling around $20 at the moment, but it is kind of interesting, and it's literally just because people like Gyarados. There's nothing more exciting than that. People like Gyarados. Gyarados is a cool Pokemon. It really is that simple. But it's kind of interesting to me because for a long time, this was not one of the more expensive Rainbow Rares. So it's kind of interesting to me that, as time goes by, this one is starting to sneak up there. Another one which hasn't quite made the list but did come very, very close is Regieleki VSTAR. Now, this one is largely because at the moment, Regieleki is seeing a lot of hype with Miraidon. Miraidon is one of the big hype decks from Scarlet and Violet, and that means that, Regieleki obviously boosts up the damage of Miraidon, so that means that a lot of people are picking up Regieleki for their Miraidon decks, and without an alternate art or anything like that, people, some of them at least, are picking up this Rainbow Rare, which is giving a little bit of a spike to price. Neither of these, neither of these two have actually made the list, but there were changes interesting enough for me to mention them at the beginning. So in at number 10, we've got Dragonite VSTAR, that one that came around in Pokemon Go, coming in at around about $25. And here, it's an interesting card that some people have played with a little bit here and there, but largely when it comes to Dragonite, it's just a case of Dragonite is a popular Pokemon, everyone loves Dragonite, and there are actually a couple of cards on this list from Pokemon Go, which I do find kind of interesting. In at number 9, we've got Snorlax VMAX from way back in the Sword and Shield base set. And this is one that never really went down in price. Not really like that. I mean, Snorlax, it was always an interesting card. 60 damage plus 30 more for each of your bench Pokemon, 210 if you've got a full bench. It was always one that we all, let's face it, we all played around with Snorlax when it came out. We all played a Snorlax deck here and there. The reality is, it never quite ended up being good enough. But Snorlax is still one of the coolest Pokemon, second best Gen 1 Pokemon, and is coming in at about $30. Also at about $30, in at number 8, we've got Umbreon VMAX. Now, I've rounded all of these to the nearest $5 to make it a bit easier, but bear in mind, if you see a couple of cards that are listed with the same price, please know that I have made a point of I've looked around and made sure they are in the right order, so even if they look like they've got the same rough price, they are in the correct order, I promise you I've checked. Now, we all know that when it comes to Umbreon VMAX, the Moonbreon, the alternate art, is what people are really psyched about, but let's not sleep on the fact that it is still a Rainbow Rare Umbreon. Umbreon, again, super interesting card, saw play for a while just because it can gust up, but basically this is nothing more than, it's an Umbreon card, and it is Rainbow Rare. Although it is worth noting that this did come around in Evolving Skies, and Evolving Skies has become the set for the Pokemon TCG in the Sword and Shield era. What that means is that a lot of valuable cards are in the set, which has pushed the price of packs and all of the set up quite considerably, which in turn helps to boost the price of the singles. It's why a lot of the lists I do along these lines are dominated by Evolving Skies. In at number 7, we've got MEWTWO VSTAR, and this is the other one that came around in Pokemon Go. Now, like a bunch of cards on this list, there is an alternate art for the Mewtwo as well, but this is a Rainbow Rare, and it's Mewtwo. And it's a card that had a bunch of potential, because it's got an attack that can do a huge amount of damage, and a VSTAR power that can, wreck Pokemon V. But the fact of the matter is, it never ended up being quite good enough. It really is just a case of people like Mewtwo, and also, it's nice to have some cards in Pokemon Go that are worth a few quid. Now, in at number 6, we've got Rayquaza VMAX. This is another one that came around in Evolving Skies. And this is another one, like so many cards on the list, which had so much potential, and I was convinced this was going to be a broken card, and it never ended up being good enough. Also had a stunning alternate art, but today we're talking Rainbow Rares, not alternate arts. I love the ability lets you discard your hand and draw 3 cards. I love the attack that can do huge amounts of damage. Never ended up being good, but Rayquaza is one of the most popular Pokemon in the entire Pokemon franchise, so you'd better believe this one was always going to be pretty high up on the list. In at number 5, we've got Lugia VSTAR coming in at about $40. And you'll notice the increments so far have been quite small. There are a couple that really separate at the end, but up till now we've not seen these huge jumps. And Lugia has been great. Lugia has been ridiculously playable. It has been the best deck in the format since it came out in Silver Tempest. And with the advent of Scarlet and Violet, it looks like that might be changing. It might not be the best deck anymore, but it is certainly going to be a viable deck for a while yet. And so you've got the combination of one of the most popular Pokemon in the game, in the brand, call it what you will, combined with a proper job hyper-playable card, and that all goes to put it pretty high up on this list. Now, in at number 4, we've got Mew VMAX, and basically everything I just said about Lugia applies to Mew as well, although it is worth pointing out that Mew did get an alternate art. It's really simple. The VMAXs got alternate arts, a lot of them, but the V-Stars did not. Simple as that. By the time we got V-Stars, it was the Vs getting the lovely alternate arts. And Mew is super crazy hyper popular, which is good. And Mew is super crazy hyper playable, which is good. Mew has been, since we saw Fusion Strike released, Mew has, it's gone between being hands down the best deck in the game and a very, 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 very good playable deck. It's never not been one of those two ever since it came out. So, you know what? This makes perfect sense. This explains why Mew ends up at number 4 at about $40. And again, that is about the same price we saw for Lugia, but make no mistake about it, Mew generally is more expensive. And this is where we start to see the jumps. There's a $15 difference between Dragonite VSTAR at number 10 and Mew VMAX at number 4. But now we see a $30 jump when we get to Charizard VSTAR, which is coming in at about $70. And one of the first things to say about this, and I'm sorry if it's a little predictable, but I gotta say it, it's a Charizard card. And ever since the Pokemon TCG base set came out, Charizard has really been the poster child for the Pokemon TCG. Charizard has always been the big one. And that means that all Charizard cards end up getting a bit inflated. And it's not that Charizard V-Star hasn't seen play. The V-Star power does 320. It's got an attack that does 230. It's fine. And it has seen play. I've seen it seeing a little bit of, constrained success at some regionals. But it's not been a particularly good card. I do think that is fair to say. So, yeah. Your explanation here is really rather simple. This is a Charizard, and people love Charizard. Now, in at number 2, we've got a gigantic jump here from $70 up to $150 as we see Pikachu VMAX. Too early to get an alternate art, incidentally. This was year 1 of the Pokemon TCG, and the alternate art VMAXs didn't come in until year 2 of the Sword and Shield Pokemon TCG. So, sorry about that. But here, it's really simple. It's Pikachu. And Charizard might be the poster child for the Pokemon TCG, but Pikachu is a poster child for Pokemon. Now again, we've got an interesting card, free energy, and if you discard them all, you do your 270. That's pretty cool. but mostly here, it's just a big fat chonky Pikachu. And it kind of helps that Vivid Voltage as a set was kind of underwhelming, so there isn't really anything else to look for. This is the card from Vivid Voltage. And that means that in at number 1, it's another Charizard. The Charizard VMAX from Champion's Path, coming in at around about $200. Yep, Pikachu and Charizard dominating the top of the list. Who'da thunk it, ladies and gentlemen? Who'da thunk it? Here, why is this more expensive than the VSTAR? I'm assuming, I don't know for certain, but whether it's true or not, we got a perception here of lower pull rates. And Champion's Path ended up being one of those sets that was just not printed as much initially, and then I'm not sure it sold quite as well as some of the others, and I'm not 100% sure on this one, but certainly the Charizard VMAX is perceived as rarer than the VSTAR, and I think it might actually be rarer than the VSTAR. It's kind of very similar to the VSTAR in that it's, you know, big HP, big damage, has seen play. They actually saw play together. Because remember, the V can evolve into the VSTAR or the VMAX in some regionals decks. It's cool. But yeah, $200 for this. I mean, it's about half what it was on release, to be fair. But it's still the most expensive Rainbow Rare card by a bit of a margin. And there really is a top 2. And if you want to include Charizard VSTAR, a top 3. And then after that, there is not a huge difference. And there are a bunch of $20 cards that just miss this list as well. So there we go. That's what you need to know, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the most expensive Rainbow Rare cards, and now it's over to you guys. Which of these have you pulled? Which of these have you picked up? Which of these are you going to pick up before the prices end up getting silly in the future? Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon card games, all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, all kinds of fun things. And of course, get shoutouts on the channel, like the lovely Javier Garcia, who is a very lovely person and has been a supporter of ours for years now. So thank you very much for all the support and for being a very lovely person. But by far the most important thing is always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.